Each year, over 50,000 young people are suspended in the state of Maryland. That's 8 out of every 100 students. Of those students, 41% are suspended for behaviors such as being disrespectful, falling asleep in class, and not wearing their school uniform. Maryland educators lead the country in so many different categories. I'm sure we can find better ways to manage student misbehavior. Recently, the Maryland State Board of Education adopted changes to the Maryland School Disciplinary Regulations and adopted a new state code of discipline. The goal of the regulations and policies is to find better ways to manage student misbehavior and to reduce the number of suspensions in the state.
My name is Robert Murphy. I work at the Maryland State Department of Education. It's important to reduce suspensions because we want all kids to be successful. What happens with suspension is essentially you get told, we don't want you here. And if that continues to happen over and over again, then eventually you say, okay, you don't want me here, I don't want to be here. Unfortunately, when we look at our data, we have some very serious issues with disproportionality. The African American students are the most suspended group. I was actually with the school system probably about a month ago, and I showed data that said that for every one white student, they were suspending 12 black students.
Suspension impacts African American students more than other groups. African American students are only 35% of Maryland public school enrollment, yet they make up 61% of all suspensions. In fact, for every white student that is suspended, almost 3 African American students is suspended. And young people with disabilities are also punished differently. Students with disabilities make up 12% of the student body, but account for 23% of all suspensions. Some educators believe that suspending is a way to change behavior. The data doesn't indicate that that's necessarily true. Both the short and long-term data shows that suspensions do more harm than good to students. Just getting suspended once cuts the chances of graduation in half. 2 suspensions cuts a child's chances of graduation by 2/3. When an educator chooses to suspend a student, he or she is making a decision that may change the life course and success of that particular child. We use terms like offenders, offenses, sanctions, consequences, penalties. Those are all criminal justice words. You work hard for people that you think care about you and that are invested in you. The real issue for us is really trying to get students to feel a part of their school and to get the adults actually to understand that school is, yes, an academic piece, but there's also a social and emotional piece that I think we have to begin to really work on. We want educators in Maryland to see out-of-school suspension as their absolute last resort and not a first resort.